Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Health Moment. I'm your host, Dr. Fitness. And as always, we'll discuss all things holistic health and wellness. And it won't be, I guess it won't be any different than any other time that we're here. We get right into it. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Tomi Mitchell. And we're going to be discussing the importance of a holistic approach to health a holistic approach to health and being willing to ask oneself those uncomfortable yet powerful questions. I appreciate you joining us today, Dr. Tomi. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. So, I'm a board certified family physician, and I have been for over a decade. And it was great until I realized that the way we've been doing health isn't quite right. I felt we were constantly just dealing with sick healthcare instead of being proactive. And a lot of the diagnoses we were coming up with as physicians and care providers were really symptoms rather than a root cause. So we were putting band aids on people largely because it was quick and that's the way insurance, rolls. And also because some of the conversations might feel uncomfortable either for the patient or the provider themselves if there are things that they need to work through. So then I embraced this idea of coaching. Coaching gave me no boundaries as far as I can coach anyone, anywhere, right? And that was beautiful. So coaching led to writing, led to speaking, led to a lot of great, amazing opportunities where I could share my truth when it comes to holistic wellness. And fortunately, I found a community who believe similar. So we are a growing movement of change. So that's a little bit about me.
That's fantastic. I think anyone in holistic healthcare in any avenue or way that they're in that area has reached the same place that you have when it comes to kind of how our healthcare system is more geared towards sick care instead of
Yes,
prevention.
yes,
And that always surprises me because I think it's so common sense that it almost amazes me that we have not had or taken it upon ourselves to make this change.
yes,
What do you think has been holding us back from doing what we all can say it's a really common sense kind of
yes.
transition? What do you believe is holding us back from being able to do that?
Well, two things, and they both begin with P. One is paradigms, our worldviews. We've been having insurance the way we've had insurance for a long time, where it's a pecking order, where those who have get, those who don't have are, kicked to the street, so to speak. And then the second piece is power, right?
Oh,
Those who make decisions hold the purse strings, a lot of P's this morning, and have the power to make choices and lobby for policies that keep them in power or fill their pocketbooks.
oh yeah. So it comes down. I mean, I've never heard it quite explained like that, and I like how you used a paradigm because we really just legitimately need an entire paradigm shift. And with the people in power currently, that paradigm shift is not likely to happen. If I heard you
Exactly.
correctly.
100%. Too many. Yep. It's not likely to happen. We need a complete overhaul of the healthcare system, and we need leaders in place who get it, and leaders in place who are in power for more than a term or
Oh,
two.
oh,
Because this is not a transition that's going to take 4 years or 8 years. This is a transition that will take probably 1 to 2 decades. Because again, you have to change paradigms, worldviews. So our best attempt at that might be towards changing our younger voters.
mm.
Because that's just how it is.
Wow. I mean, just on the surface, as you're talking about this, it kind of explains a lot on why it's been so difficult to get some type of uniform healthcare passed.
Exactly.
Um, universal so that everyone can get some basic level of care. That's been really difficult to get done. And
It's
even now, it's such a
it's
patchwork.
crazy. And it doesn't even make sense dollars wise. We know that preventing illness is so much cheaper economically than waiting for a problem. Um, but again, I think part of it is power. Some people just like to keep all their stuff to themselves. It helps keeps a class. Those have and those that don't, right? If you choose not to have and participate in a system that provides the support, the strong safety net, that's on you, right?
Mhm.
But if you want something, you're striving for it, you're working hard, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're hitting that brick wall, that's the system, and that needs to change.
Nice. Hey, I thank you for bringing this up because these are really important issues. And if you're at all interested in holistic health, or if you're not happy with the way healthcare is going at the moment, Doc, what do you suggest people do to get involved? Is there,
Yeah. So there are things that we all can do that it seems so cliche, seem so basic, but they're powerful. And we can do these things without insurance, without lobbying, without politicians. And that is starting in our own homes, our own communities, and making healthier choices, right? Making the choice for basic things like physical activity or movement, I call it. I'm not a huge gym fan, though I will go. But I like to blast my music in my house and dance. Like that is movement. Your body doesn't care whether it's a boring treadmill or you're dancing rumba or salsa or reggaeton. It doesn't matter. Move. Okay? Secondly, what we're eating. Now, food prices are high everywhere. They're crazy. Okay? Whether you're buying donuts, Krispy Kremes, or whatever, or you're buying, some vegetables, the pricing in most of the country is fairly stable. Make healthier choices. Have more lean protein, balance with some veggies, and a small amount of healthy carbs. It's choices. Eat a rainbow. We're recording this. I don't know when this is going to go live, but Thanksgiving just passed. We all love to sit down and eat and collard greens and macaroni and cheese and potatoes this and pie this and turkey fried chitlins, whatever, wherever you are across the country. Like, good, but make that 10% of your year. Like 10% I have this 90-10 rule.
Okay.
90% of time, be good boys and girls with a halo around your head and eat your vegetables, eat your broccoli, eat your, lean chicken breasts, etc. Whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, that stuff. Fun. And then that 10% is called life. Okay, that's the Thanksgiving holidays. That's the Christmas. But keep it to that 10%. All right?
I
Gives you a
gotcha.
little bit of wiggle room so you don't go on a bender and binge. But honestly, basic things like not smoking. So many illnesses are caused by smoking. And in my practice, my clinical practice as a physician, I recently moved offices and I'm taking on new patients. And I'm getting patients who haven't been doctored for a long time. And it's very different from the practice I had for a decade where I looked after them and their chronic illnesses were managed. They were reversing diabetes, improving their mental health, improving their relationships as we got into the coaching topics.
Oh, wow. You've done a
Yeah,
fantastic job. That's
yeah,
not what
thank
I
you.
usually hear when I speak to physicians,
I know, I'm an
particularly,
oddball.
you're an internist then,
Well,
right?
family medicine, which
Uh,
basically is basically internal medicine because you're dealing with, I'm dealing with many systems. And this expression, master of all trades and master of none. I like to say master of all trades and a master of some. Okay, I totally butchered that. But the point is, the point is, there is all that turkey. Just kidding. The point is, you can be skilled in areas, and I am skilled in understanding human emotions, connections, and understanding the connection between what we eat, what we see, and early childhood experience. Now that's another topic entirely, and how that inter- interplays and affects us now. So
Mhm.
it's a journey that I've taken both professionally and more importantly, personally. I think we're more authentic. We're able to connect more with our patients, our clients, when we can truly we put ourselves in their shoes, right? Someone who's always had a silver platter and had everything easy would probably not relate to somebody who's struggling, right?
Hmm.
As childhood, my parents struggled. So I understand have not. I understand difficulty. I understand how social determinants of health impact us. But I also understand that we each have the individual personal power to make choices now while we lobby, while we make a stink, while we make a noise, while we vote, while we don't quit, why we just don't stop because our children's future depends on it. For us who are, a bit older, we might not reap a huge benefit from the system change, but we can reap the benefit of the individualized personal change.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. Um, you're there's so much you're in the heart of this whole thing that's happening with us in the country where it comes to healthcare. This is like the meat, I believe, and all of that. Um, I noticed another thing that you've really wanted to share about, and it's about what is burnout and how
Yes.
does your view of burnout differ from the World Health Organization's definition?
Well, World Health Organization characterized burnout as this chronic stress from workplace, like unmitigated, prolonged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leading to cynicism, like fatigue, just not wanting to be there. And that's great. Yes, burnout is due to chronic stress. I like to use a basic equation. Math is not my favorite, but it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Burnout occurs when energy outputs are greater than energy inputs, right? You're
Gotcha.
taking
Yeah.
more out than you're putting in. So that's WHO, burnout, and then that's my equation. However, I recognize that life is not in these little boxes, these little silos. You can't just extract work stuff from personal or vice versa. It mingles. And in fact, work is like the melting pot for all your stuff. It's like a stew. It's like a concoction of things, childhood stuff, past experiences, stressful relationships, maybe bankruptcy, financial this, caregiver exhaustion. And then you come to work, and that's sometimes where we start seeing it because you're being evaluated by somebody else, right? Versus at
Mm-hmm.
home, you might not have that self reflecting mirror where someone's saying, okay, now, you know, Johnny, I need you to do this, or you should get up the couch and leave that Xbox or PlayStation or whatever it is alone. Maybe not smoke that stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's not that person usually in our personal life unless you're deliberate about getting that person, unless you're deliberate about getting accountability because you're determined to have changes. So burnout is not just work because I have been burnt out. And I am like supercharged superwoman. I run circles around most people. I am Energizer Bunny. But I reached my burnout, and it was a combination of factors in what we call the wellness wheel or holistically that were personal, environmental, there were work factors, there were financial factors, and ta-da, global factors because it happened just a few months after that pandemic that we all loved so much. So, but that was extraordinary circumstance. But the fact is, those signs were there before, right? So before we have the big heart attack, those signs were there before. We
Mm.
just ignored them.
So, is there a process that you've put in place now on how to avoid burnout? Is there something that you could share with listeners? Just one or two tips to help them avoid burnout.
Okay, so mindfulness, recharge, journaling. Okay, so be aware of your body. Again, your body is telling you, okay, you need rest, so you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You need to eat. You need to hydrate. You need to have healthy boundaries. So many of us, including myself, my burnout was a result of poor boundaries where I kept on saying yes, yes, yes to more work, and that was kind of a product of my upbringing, being told you must work 10 times harder than your peers before they tell you that you're good. Well, I did work pretty hard. I worked very hard, but you can only sustain so much. And then if exterior factors come in play, like a pandemic, or let's say in my case, I had a complications post delivery that really near death experiences actually for me and my daughter that really wore me down. And then, of course, burnout happens. So, mindfulness, reflection, journaling. Journaling is so powerful because so many of us keep everything in our brains. And for me, that's not easy. I have to keep, there are things I must keep in my brain, and there's other stuff I don't need to. And that's like long, like lists of things to do in the house, people I need to call, like things that don't directly impact my physical health and safety or my ability to do my job safely. So you write those down. So you write lists in either a book or even your phone that you look at regularly. And in the process of writing lists, you will naturally start making goals. All right? Goals are powerful because goals give you a sense of purpose and direction. And when you have a sense of purpose and direction, it gives you this superhuman energy. And not only that, it gives you bursts of happiness. Dopamine hits to the brain, feeling good. So you want to feel good, look good, do good. So maybe you will move a little, you'll shake a little. Maybe you will hydrate with fluids and water. And, maybe you're like, what, I don't want, be choking up a lung. Maybe I won't
Mm-hmm.
smoke. Maybe I will kick the nicotine habit, right? I think naturally as humans, we want good things. We might not realize how much we want certain things, but we do want those things. And then when our body's like, I like this, it gives you positive feedback. You have energy, you look good, you get that date, you get that job promotion, you feel good, you think good, you're laser focused. So it's basic stuff that is free, you can do. So evaluate boundaries and just what I said, like it's a mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
Success, health begins in the mind. It's a mind game. All right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
mind game. And that's why mental fitness, mental health is so important.
And I love the way you're sharing this. And with this, I'd like to add or ask, um, do you think it's better to, because you said it's free, but my best change comes when I have an accountability coach
Yes.
or someone that's there. So as I make the plan, um, I'm better. I coach people too for a living, but when I need a coach too. So it's not
100%.
something it's not something that I just do as my job, but don't know any great coach that doesn't have coaches.
Exactly. You
It's
nailed it.
it's
I have
that
coaches too.
mentoring thing.
Right? Accountability is key, right? Having that tribe, those 5 people that you spend the most of your time with, who encourage you, who are on the same wavelength, same energy, is powerful. It's human nature to fall off, derail,
Mm,
especially around certain times of the year or through hard times, anniversary of, people's passing. There's many reasons. Accountability is key, and having a goal that pushes us forward. It's that beacon in the darkness that's like, okay, it's storm, this wind is howling, but I'm gonna press forward to reach that goal. I am gonna move, right? And that goal must be bigger than yourself. Otherwise, when you're lying in bed on a Saturday morning, you're like, oh, I gotta go podcast or go record. You're like, I have goals. I have a purpose. My children's future depend on a healthier world. And because I have the privilege as a physician, as a female, as a Black woman with power, I choose my words very carefully. I get up,
mm,
right? It's a bigger
yes.
picture.
And have gotten up because you would not
Yes.
be in the place you are today if you have not gotten up.
Yes, exactly.
I'm really excited about that. And you touched on some of the challenges that you had with childbirth.
Yes.
Now, the numbers are frightening, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of women of color that don't get the same care um, that non women of color get when they're seeking medical treatment for childbirth.
Yes.
And the numbers reflect that
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of unfortunate outcomes
Yes.
when it comes to um, those deaths. Now, as a physician, you see it kind of different. I mean, you almost have an inside
I do.
view
Yeah.
into kind of what's happening there. And even still, it seems like, what was it? Serena Williams
Yes.
had a challenge. I mean, so she's very, um, well, that's someone with means.
Yes.
It's someone who can, so to get treatment that's substandard in her
Hmm.
case
Yeah, for sure.
was
No, I
really
agree.
kind of surprising.
Yeah, it is. Like in my case, for my little one, I was begging the nurses to believe me that my child wasn't breathing. And she was dropping her oxygen like in the 50s and 60s. Eight, I think it was 6 or 8 times I got up post C-section, 4 days post C-section, and my child is not breathing. She's seizing. And they're telling me she's fine, she's fine, she's fine. Well, she wasn't fine. She ended up in 2 different ICUs, but thankfully, by the grace of God, she's fine now. But I tell you, if I didn't know what I know as a physician and I wasn't that mama bear that I am, and if I wasn't at the point where I was just like, I don't care what you do with me afterwards, I just want to protect my child at this point. I don't care. You can reprimand me. Um, no, I would have been gone. My child would have been gone. And this is a reality across the country, across the world. Some of it is, again, those social determinants of health, like education, background, race, all those things that impact us, but a lot of it is still bias and sheer ignorance. And that's the truth. Bias and sheer ignorance. Like I remember the nurse telling me, "Oh, your kid is fine. Her lips aren't pale." I'm just like, yeah, they ain't pale. Well, number one, she's not a white baby. Okay. And number two, if you're waiting for your child to be pale, honey, you got a problem. So,
Yeah, waited a little too
yeah,
long.
there's a huge education crisis. Like huge, huge, huge. There's so many factors again, but that's the joy of being in this system, being able to understand some of its education factors. So the system approach too. That's what I do. Body system, human system. Part of the education is I try to put it whitewashed, where you're not taught the variety of presentation depending on the skin color.
Mm.
Hello. So it takes a lot for me to go pale. I'm just saying.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah. Yeah, if that's a metric that you're
change.
looking for,
Right?
uh
It's a
that's a
problem.
bit that's yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
Um, and where you think of change here, do you think in that regard it comes back down to paradigm and power again?
Paradigms and power. So the power piece is important. We need representation, healthy representation, not tokenism, healthy representation.
Oh, you just really said a lot with
I
that.
don't sugarcoat nothing, Max. So like, please,
Oh,
healthy representation, balance, not tokenism, who will speak the truth, right?
oh my gosh.
We need
I,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not sugarcoating nothing. I'm not
Oh, I
even.
don't
I
sugarcoat
was
nothing.
asking. I wasn't gonna. There was a follow up question I wanted to ask about that, but I
I
just
will be
cited.
the follow-up question.
No, no,
Okay,
no, no,
it's
no.
all
This is it.
good.
Yeah, you did your thing. Um, wow. I'm just really impressed with just how clear and honest you are about sharing your experience and and how committed you are to really making a difference. And
100%. I'm 100% committed, and life has just reinforced that commitment. And what if, let's think about it. If people don't step up, especially those who have the privilege to, I'm a physician, I have a platform, I have resources, now not the government resources, but I have resources more than the average Joe to do
mhm,
this. Why not? To whom much is given, much is expected. And part of the wellness holistic approach has to do with spiritual wellness, so that belief in that which is greater. So having that faith, whatever you call it out there, mine happens to be Christianity, but I mean, there's many similarities between other faiths, Islam, like
mhm. Oh
there's
yeah.
many, like just loving each other. They're your brothers, your sisters, like kindness, like basic stuff that is throughout. Having
Throughout
that
all
belief in
faiths,
oneself. Exactly.
they share that.
Right?
Basically treat others the way you would like to be treated. I
Yeah.
mean, that goes with Buddhism,
Yes.
Christianity, Islam,
It's there.
Judaism, all of
Yes.
them.
All of them. So if we just focus on that and our similarities, instead of being so focused on our differences or past hurts, that's another story. Past hurts, like we have to move on, right? There are people who are fighting each other and have no idea why they're fighting each other. And if they look back in history, it was something ridiculous, as in you stole my cow, your people stole my people's cow, and they're hurting each other. Like literally, that is a thing, and that can happen on a bigger global scale, right?
It's
Stop
so true.
this.
So, Doc, we're running out of time. Where can listeners find you online?
Yes, they can check out my website, Holistic Wellness Strategies, holistic with an H, wellness strategies. It's a long one, or just Google Dr. Tomi Mitchell. You will find me on LinkedIn. I'm there every day, Instagram, but Holistic Wellness Strategies. And if you want to have a conversation with me, the first one's on me. The second
Oh,
one, well, we'll
nice.
talk about it.
So holistic wellness. Now, is that your Instagram as well?
My
Holistic
Instagram
wellness
is
strategies.
my social media handles are my name, Dr. Tomi Mitchell, but the
Okay.
website is Holistic Wellness Strategies with an
Gotcha.
S,
Dr.
dot
Tomi
com.
Mitchell's. So
Yeah,
don't worry if you missed any of it, it's going to be in the show notes. So if you go to the show
yeah,
notes, all of Dr. Tomi's information, Dr. Tomi Mitchell, that's
yeah,
Tomi Mitchell, two L's.
yeah,
Uh, and Dr. Tomi Mitchell, all of her information is going to be in the show notes, contact information. So definitely, I suggest that you follow up with her. And she has a wealth of information. And if you're looking for a coach, someone to help you, and you may have faced some of the challenges that Dr. Mitchell has mentioned today, definitely reach out. So, Dr.
definitely.
Mitchell, I want to thank you for joining us today. We're running out of time. And I want to also thank the listeners for tuning in to another episode of Your Health Moment. I look forward to talking to you again next week. So take care and goodbye for now.